Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with thelibertybeacon.com. And I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics, Season 2, Episode 66. I have the notes in my hand of the episode I was going to speak to and will, in conjunction with thelibertybeacon.com, WOKEists Warping Words. Well, before I get to that, I want to talk to you about the notes I got on this flimsy sheet of paper, which, if you see on behind the scenes video, the back of is ChristiTutionalist Politics, kind of an ad. I print 8 of them on an 8.5 by 10 flimsy standard 20 stock paper on my home printer, print them out, cut them into sections, and hand them out to people at times because, as it says in the opening, you're no muss, no fuss, low key, low cost, little sheets of paper that I hand out rather than bought business cards for the show. But the notes on the back of this card or sheet are important because I want to first, rather than getting into WOKEists warping words, people warping the scriptures. Yes, you've heard me talk about that before. It is even more relevant now for this show because I just got back from the theater. Yes, I saw God's Not Dead, the 5th installment, In God We Trust, which I've been getting it wrong. I've been expecting the movie. I thought this was going to be In God We Trust, We the People. Maybe that was one of the other ones and I was confusing the title, or I just plain got it wrong. It's God's Not Dead, In God We Trust. And I hope you have seen the movie or will see the movie. But before I go into the key points without spoiler, key points in the movie, because if you're a regular of the show, you will have heard those key points from the movie on this show. But also, a couple weeks ago, saw Reagan. Oh, wonderful film. Saw that a couple times, actually. I also saw yesterday, Am I Racist? Matt Walsh's, what's it, digital? I am forgetting the name of its outfit. I apologize, Matt, that I'm forgetting the name of your outfit. It's not Turning Point USA. That's Charlie Kirk's. But at any rate, indeed, I did see Am I Racist? And oh, is it hilarious. But the first point here is, indeed, thank God. Thank God the ChristiTutionalists, as I call us, are mobilized. And we have 3 good, what people would say, conservative, I'm using that in air quotes, fair movies right before the election. Very important because all year round, every year for the last, 10, 20, 30 years, we've been getting, speaking of WOKEists warping words, woke-infested movies. Those are in part political statements too. Hollyweird, or pedowood as some call it, hashtag, right? In trying to influence elections through their art. So why the hell, right? Or rather, in our case, why in heaven's sake are we not trying to influence the culture through our works, in part and parcel of what this show is about. One of the many reasons I felt called to do this show. So indeed, Reagan, am I racist? Hilarious. And God's not dead, fifth installment, in God we trust. Thank God we're motivated and we're finally trying to influence also through our works and our art. But I'm preempting the regular show as it was going to be to talk about the movie because the notes I hastily wrote down as I came out the theater so I could come home and do this with you, right? H/C. It just happens to be the one on the top. Healthcare. Thank goodness I remembered what my shorthand was about. But indeed, as Rev Dave says in the film, the Senator Kane he's running against, you're all about power and control. And indeed, that's what socialized medicine is all about and why the left pushes it. It's why the Nazis perfected it in Nazi Germany, because it's not about health. It's not about care. It's about power and control of the state over you. They like to say, oh, you won't have some health insurance company to go through to say and possibly to approve or deny your care if it's really needed or not. No, instead, the left, the socialists, the commies, the fascists, for power and control, want to put all those private healthcare workers out of jobs and hand over Medicaid for all. It's not Medicare for all. Medicare, as part of FICA, is an entitlement you've paid into and earned. Medicaid is not. It is all 100% government funded. That's what they want. Medicaid for all. Medicare will be erased and all those funds stolen, put into the new system. But again, power and control is what it's about. Them saying, we'd really like to help you get those meds for your son, your daughter, your spouse, but these posts online that are anti-government, we need you to tone those down. It's power, control, extortion, coercion, even if it's not overtly stated. They're crafty, they're clever, just like the DNC platform, as you've heard me call them, fascocrats, 28 planks of the National Socialist Deutschland Arbeiter Party planks in the modern Democrat fascocrats platform. Not hyperbole. Hyperbole. I can't talk again, of course. Not hyperbole or exaggeration. Sure, they use better flowery language to try to disguise it, but they're there. I'm talking about one right now. Socialized medicine. That came out of the Nazi state. That's one. Gun confiscation. The obvious other, but I don't want to go down that road. This episode will get too long. So moving on from that, I'm going to cross off H/C, power control. You've heard me say before, if you're a regular listener, I say it this way: 30 to 50 million supposed, and I'm using the air quote things again for, on video, they're seeing me do that. For the transcript and the audio, I'm putting the air quote thingy there. Supposed fellow Christians not either registered to vote or not voting. I use 30 to 50 because the measuring, of course, may be a little off. In the movie, they say 15 million not registered to vote, another 30 that just don't vote. So, yeah, between 30 to 50 million. I've been right all along. So I wanted to mention that. And point of that movie, part of the point of the show, You shall be known by your fruits. 2 Chronicles 7:14. Pray, turn from wicked ways, shall hear in heaven, help heal your land. See the key there? Help heal your land is predicated on turn from wicked ways. That implies an action. You must reap to sow. You, me, all of us ChristiTutionalists must be called to action to at least help try to turn our nation from the wicked ways, and God will hear in heaven and help heal our land, not just you sit at home on the couch and say, "Dear God, wave a magic wand." No, read your Bible in full context. I was talking to someone after the movie, and because that's in the film too, about you can't, let me cross that off. Context is actually the next one. You can't pick and choose a scripture out of context, like warping render under Caesar, like giving all your duties as a Christian to the state to do. No, doesn't work that way. That is render under Caesar out of context of the rest of the Bible. Okay? Be our brother's keeper is a personal commandment. It is not a dictate from God of the state. We are given free will. We are to want to, not forced to be our brother's keeper. In order to be a good Christian, we are to want to and indeed do that. That is the proper context. You've heard me say before, community versus communism. Community is biblical. It is free will. It is by choice. It is voluntary. Communism, the bastardization version of community, distorted, twisted, wokeist, pathetical corruptness, as I call PC, version twisting from community. Communism is by force, by threat of the barrel of the gun, by theft, to take from some to give to others. That is not biblical. So I'm so glad I get a chance to talk to you about this. So glad. It's like God's not dead. In God we trust. Scriptwriters read my mind. I don't know. Maybe they're fans of the show. I hope so. But yeah, I'm kidding. Of course, I'm kidding. That movie was clearly in production, not production per se, but in concept and scripts moving forward towards that, probably before I ever even started this show in June of 2023. But hey, you know, let's have a little fun and say this show has birthed that movie, okay? I'm kidding, people. Please, we got to keep a sense of humor, right? But another point, of course, we talk about all the time. One nation under God, indivisible, with unalienable rights. The Constitution doesn't give you anything. Endowed by our Creator. One nation under God. The Constitution is a constraint on government to not trample our God-given rights. Wake up, remember, our place, we the people are the rulers, not those we've been letting run roughshod over us, and the 30 to 50 million supposed Christians, if they are real Christians, and indeed take the Bible in full context as we're talking here, understand you got to sow to reap. Known by fruits, right? Turn from wicked ways means you do something, and doing something is more than just voting. You got to be involved. maybe not 24/7 every day of the week, all year round, every year, but indeed in off election years is when a lot of things need to get done and happen. So you're ready and have better candidates in place to run during the presidential or off year congressional elections, even your mayor, your city council, your school board. Does that sound at all familiar from God's Not Dead movies in the past? And the current weaponization of the Department of Justice, calling you going to the school board domestic terrorists because you demand take back we the people power and your parental rights? So the other thing, give me a second. I'm going to run away from the video screen here for a pause. Hold on. Okay, I apologize. Obviously, if you're listening on audio, you won't hear that pause. I'll edit it out. But on the video, you'll see me run off. And why did I run off? I grabbed a copy of my ChristiTutionalist politics book that goes along with the show, because in the movie they talk about separation of church and state. Well, decades ago, I wrote, you might have read on beforeitsnews.com, or later, more recently, at thelibertybeacon.com, where I'm writing now, or priorly at Red State that I used to write. The left doesn't want separation of church and state, as Thomas Jefferson said in his letter. That's right on the back of my book. The Jefferson letter about separation of church and state is just about that the United States federal government shall never officially adopt a particular church over others, period. There were several states that had declared official churches. The federal government could not dictate one church over another, over the states, and influence any particular religion. It's a protection of our First Amendment freedom of religion from the state, not the other way around, not the state protected from us, the faithful. Going on here, it does not mean freedom from religion at all. And some want I've been saying for decades, I coined the term, the left doesn't want separation of church and state. As it says here, they want separation from church to state. I'm not going to read the rest of it. I hope you'll check out ChristiTutionalist Politics book online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, anywhere and everywhere books are sold, as the saying goes. But again, I didn't want to spend the whole show doing this. But part of the plot, I'm sure you've seen from the commercial. Again, I'm not really giving spoilers here. I'm not going to give away the movie. Our friend Reverend Hill gets recruited into running for office. And that's why then, of course, it leads to the points, the discussion, the separation of church and state, and them wanting separation from church to state. The phrases in our declaration, under God, not just that it was put on our money in the 1950s. It was established long before that. It was only put on the money in the 1950s. The 30 to 50 million people either not registered or not voting point, taking the Bible scriptures out of context to promote communism rather than biblical community. So with that, we're going to move on. I urge you, if you've not seen the movie, to please see Reagan, Am I Racist? And God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, the 5th installment of that series. But whew, I'm getting dry here. I got to turn on my fan too. I'm getting heated up on this conversation. As I said, just kind of you and me raw, uncut, going with the flow as it is, even though I got notes. It's not a scripted show, but the correlating in conjunction with this CTP episode is the Liberty Beacon piece that will be called WOKEists Warping Words. The show title for this, I'm thinking I'll probably change. So normally the titles match on both the podcast and the article at thelibertybeacon.com. But WOKEists Warping Words. Before I've written the left twisting and warping of language. But that's it again. I was on, I forget what show it was just the other day. And, oh no, I was recording a guest, a future Wednesday drop is my guest shows. Saturdays, normally my monologues. While I was talking with Captain Kirk, no, not William Shatner or Patrick Stewart. I'm talking about Captain Kirk Beck, and that will air later. But diversity came up. Diversity is not a four-letter foul term when used properly, right? Diversity of thought matters. The way the left, wokeists, want to apply it through identity politics, pushing cultural Marxism, division to destroy this nation, they look at it as only skin tone. A term can be good when used right. A term can be bad when language use and abuse. BeforeIt'sNews.com, I have a piece, language use and abuse. Here, I can't talk again. I'm writing myself a note here to make sure I link use and abuse Before It's News piece in the show notes. But if I'm starting a company to make widgets, right? You remember the old Rodney Dangerfield back to school and the economics or the business class. We're going to build a factory. Well, what are we making? We're making widgets. What is a widget? It's a fictional item. So if I'm going to build widgets, I don't go to the trade school for electricians and hire all and only 100 electricians. There's no diversity in that. And you have to then train everyone, retrain everyone from what they know to what you need them to do. That is why it's important for a diverse staff. We're not talking skin tone. We're not talking sex, male, female. I can have a factory making widgets of all 100 women. If they're all qualified for the different jobs, I can have a place of 100 all men if they're qualified. The diversity, to what degree and specific we're talking about, matters. The context, to use that word again. So diversity, don't let them turn it into a negative four-letter dirty word to you. You correct them what real diversity is in where necessary, right? We are the most diverse nation on this planet. E pluribus unum, from many one. Most of us indeed immigrated from elsewhere. Legally immigrated, came here legally and properly. No problem with legal immigration. There is a big problem with biblically when God says heaven has a gate, heaven has a door. Our nation has to have a door. You have to come in the right way with permission through the door, through the gate. But melting pot, and the same thing at your company, your diverse employees. Problem solving is better resolved when you have diverse people. Now, skin tone, again, diverse backgrounds, diverse different abilities, people who pack things, people who stamp things, people who put things together with their hands, people who did do the electrical wiring, people who do the plumbing. You get a diverse crowd together when you want to problem solve. You can haggle out a better, proper solution. You have multiple ideas and backgrounds rather than a bunch of yes people and people who all think alike. If you all think alike and it is a good way of doing things, you're in good shape. If they all think alike and they have a lot of dumb ideas, you're in trouble. You're probably out of business soon. So going through my notes here, melting pot, problem solving, check, check, check. Orwell, Arizona quote will be in the Liberty Beacon, thelibertybeacon.com article, right? The further I can't talk again. The further a society drifts from truth, the more it will hate those that speak it. Orwell. And as I say on my terrorstrikes.info website about my terror strikes coming soon to a city near you book, not about death, but life and living, and not only about terrorism, that's just the thread that ties all the subplots together. And speech and honesty, honor, integrity are all part of that historical fiction, or as I call it, faction book. Indeed, the further a society drifts from truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. We all see that. We all know that. We all know what's going on. The question and point of this show and the God's Not Dead fifth movie is, what you going to do about it? Are you going to whine on your couch? Are you going to sit on your couch and go on your keyboard? And yes, I vent. I'm on 15 social media platforms. And yeah, I vent, but I also promote ideas and promote action. Are you going to get off your butt and do something? Yes. 2 Chronicles 7:14. Pray, heal lands, hear, and heal, or turn from wicked ways. Hear, heal. Okay. Not fractionalizing it, paraphrasing. There's the word I'm looking for. Paraphrasing 2 Chronicles 7:14, right? Pray. Yes. There's also a show and an article. Is prayer alone enough? As I've laid out, no, it isn't. We are to act. We are to do. So yes, pray, but then get up, go out, and do things that matter, that can change things. Whining online all day long isn't something that matters or going to change things. But of course, part of the reason I have to be on so many social media platforms is to promote this show, to promote my articles, which do my activism and advocating indeed from my couch, that then goes out over the internet around the world. Because if you heard other shows, I'm older and slower and broke. I'm on disability. I don't have the 6-figure salary I used to have, and to go out and about and do a lot of things actually physically in person, and go to all the meetings, go to all the rallies, go to all the conventions, go to all the candidate fundraisers. I can't do all that anymore. So I'm here online sharing my past, my information, my experience to promote you to do that. All right, well, that's enough of that. I'm just running down my notes here to see if I have another article about Caitlin Clark, right? You've got to reach people where they are, okay? A lot of people, bread and circus. I have several articles and shows on that. Bread and circus. People are consumed by it. So talking Caitlin Clark, who's a hot commodity, who's a big important thing right now, I can then, through her or what she's doing, reach other people. And that's the important reason why I mentioned that. Then that article is, will Caitlin Clark in the WNBA actually elevate women's sport to historic catastrophic levels, or will DEI kill DIE it? Because that's what DEI is. My friend Ed Bondarenka at Wham Radio was the first person to start saying it is DIE, not DEI, right? Because die. That's what DEI is about. Cultural Marxism and killing our culture. It's not an earnest effort because, again, they wokeists warp the words like diversity and pervert it and turn it into something negative and bad, and we must reclaim the language. There'll be links to all those sorts of things. So indeed, at any rate, I feel like I've rambled enough. I think I've hit all my points in my notes that I wanted to. So again, please go to thelibertybeacon.com to look up the WOKEists Warping Words, because there will be more things in the article that aren't in the show, things in the show that aren't in the article. They complement each other, correlate, correspond, are in conjunction with each other. The importance of those two things together to drive each other. But indeed, I try to keep my show shorter. I've rambled enough. I feel like I should apologize. I think I've probably been a little more rambly than I should have been today. And I apologize for kind of being so in everybody's face about this. I don't want this show to be preachy, but educational and deal in fact, not emotional hysterics. So thank you all. Take care. God bless. See you next week. And please get out and see Reagan, Am I Racist? God's Not Dead, and any other number of good positive movies. There are good Christian studio movies, like the Praying Coach that went to the Supreme Court. There will be that in October coming. I forget what they titled that film, but there are other positive morals, positive, logical reinforcement of what this country was founded on and supposed to be about. Support those movies at the theater. And indeed, I don't get into the boycott movement. I leave that to others. But indeed, there's a whole lot of things I will not support with my money at that theater. Thank you all. Take care and God bless.
Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, no fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.
Just wanted to give a brief shout out and thank you to all the folks on iHeartRadio and Player FM for being 2 in the top 3 platforms that my show, ChristiTutionalist Politics, is most often listened to. So thank you all. Take care. God bless.